ever want to hear some Pinterest parent tell me, I like farmhouse chic. Do you? Do you? Do you have a 200-year-old farmhouse with a dirt floor basement and your pets bring up actual animals once it starts getting cold at night? Do you? Do you like farmhouse, Janet? Do you like farmhouse? Or do you just like Ray Dunn?
Did you know Ray Dunn is one of the 7 deadly sins? It's true.
Uh-oh, Bob the Tomato caught you sinning.
A lot to get to today. I know we posted about Vanessa Hudgens announcing she's a witch, but I have a few things I personally want to say about it. There are a lot of changes coming to The Voice on NBC. Do you remember that super messed up documentary called Abducted in Plain Sight? There is a cool new series based on that true story. And what I think about Lizzo saying she doesn't make music for white people. Also, make sure you always watch each episode beginning to end because sometimes, like today, I have important announcements at the end. I'm Alex Clark, and this is POPlitics. Vanessa Hudgens is a real witch, and she wants everyone to know it. Yes, witchcraft and being a Wiccan is a real religion. It's a real thing with real powers. I get told all the time that witches aren't actually real and neither is witchcraft. Yes, it absolutely is, but their power isn't from God, I'll tell you that much. Boo. If you don't believe it's real, listen to my episodes of The Spillover with Doreen Virtue and Jen Nizza. Anyways, Vanessa and her BFF are both witches, so they wanted to film a documentary about going to Salem, Massachusetts to hone in on their spiritual gifts. It's described as being very simple life meets the craft.
Oh, relax, it's only magic.
I find it real interesting that on her little witchcation, she wore a cross necklace. A great reminder that not everyone who wears the cross has been to it.
Witchcraft.
Do you know who Rachel Hollis is? She's one of the biggest women to ever enter the Christian influencer space and also crash and burn out of it. My guest tonight is also a huge Christian influencer, and we talk about everything from the highs and lows of that subset of social media to how she was obsessed with Rachel Hollis before she came out as a giant fraud. And we even get into some juicy behind-the-scenes drama from both of our podcasts. The episode comes out at midnight Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific on The Spillover, anywhere you get your podcasts. Guess in the comments who you think the guest is.
What is it about me that made you think I want to be relatable?
Really big news for fans of The Voice on NBC. Blake Shelton is leaving the show after this next season. He's been on the show for 12 years. Current judges Gwen Stefani, Camila Cabello, and John Legend will also be stepping down according to Page Six, so it will be fun to see who replaces them. This season, though, they announced that Niall Horan and Chance the Rapper will be joining Kelly Clarkson and Blake Shelton as judges as he wraps up his last season. I actually really like these four together. I think it'll be a fun foursome. I have a feeling that Chance and Blake are gonna be hilarious together. Do you remember that documentary, Abducted in Plain Sight, on Netflix? It came out in 2017 and people couldn't believe what they were watching. It's a true story about a 12-year-old girl in 1974 who gets abducted and abused over and over again by a close family friend, and her parents seemingly just let it happen. And the abuser was also abusing the mom and the dad simultaneously. Netflix made the documentary about it, but now Peacock has a new show out with actors based on this story called A Friend of the Family.
What exactly is your relationship with Robert Birchtold?
Well, he's practically a member of the family.
Good morning, Brobergs.
Good morning, Brother B.
Good morning, Jan. It's gonna be a great day. Hey, who do you love the most?
Brother B. Brother B. Brother B.
Tell you the truth, a man like you, a father and a church leader, I wanted to be friends with you from the moment I met you.
Really?
I almost feel like we're two sides of the same family. I look at you and Marianne, and sometimes I wish I had the kind of marriage you have. care about me, Broberg. Just help me out, brother.
No one thinks that their best friend is a monster, but he has all the hallmarks of a psychopathic personality.
This is the real Jan Broberg today and what she has to say about the new show on Peacock.
I'm Jan Broberg, and this series is based on my story. I know it may seem unbelievable, but we lived in a different world back then. I want to tell my family's story today because so many seem to think something like this could never happen to them, especially at the hands of someone they know and trust. But it did happen. It happened to my family. It happened to me. Thank you for watching.
Lizzo was on the cover of Vanity Fair and wanted to clarify who she is and isn't making music for. She said, I am not making music for white people. I am a black woman. I am making music from my black experience for me to heal myself from the experience we call life.
Come on, who said that?
Okay, fine. Your music is for black people only. That's a choice she can make, of course, but there's a little bit of hypocrisy here because from what I can tell, she doesn't ask for people to disclose their race before buying tickets to her shows. She allows her singles to be played on Top 40 radio, which has a predominantly white audience and not only on urban formats. And she doesn't put her music on an exclusive black-owned streaming service like Jay-Z's Tidal, where mostly black-only listeners can enjoy it. So she says her music isn't for white people, while at the same time taking an awful lot of money from white people. She should talk to Billy Eichner about how rejecting a demographic worked out for him recently. Just saying.
Bye.
This is important. Actress Angela Lansbury passed away at 96. Now, she probably doesn't sound familiar to you, but hang on. Her biggest film credit is playing Gen X's favorite detective on Murder, She Wrote. But you and I remember her as Mrs. Potts. And not gonna lie, this made me tear up. Rest in peace to our favorite teapot.
Song as old as rhyme, Beauty and the Beast. Run along and get in the carpet chip.
Candace Owens' documentary, The Greatest Lie Ever Sold, on the Daily Wire was 10 out of 10 phenomenal, must watch. The Daily Wire is killing it with these documentaries lately. I also loved Luckiest Girl Alive on Netflix. I finally finished it. Another fantastic must-see thriller movie. And now I'm watching A Friend of the Family on Peacock. Finally, some shows.
I don't know what we're yelling about!
Reserve your spot in person or virtually for next Wednesday, October 19th. I'm going to be hosting this massive true crime pajama party at Arizona State University, and I'm preparing to tell some of the scariest true crime stories I know. Major sleepover vibes. Come in person if you live in the Phoenix area, and if you don't, stream it. Find details and reserve your spot by going to Turning Point ASU on Instagram. Now, if you were entertained today, heart or thumbs up this episode. If you listen to the audio version on Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star review. We're lacking in the review department for POPlitics, the podcast version. In the comments today, guess who the spillover guest is this week and tell me if you've ever watched Abducted in Plain Sight. Also, do you believe that there is such a thing as real witches? Send this episode to someone who has a real farmhouse and hates the posers, and then hit that save button to support us. We're back tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. It's pop culture without the propaganda every single day. I'm Alex Clark, and this is POPlitics.
Clearly, POPlitics is best served visually, but you can also listen to POPlitics if you just want the audio. Subscribe to us anywhere you get your podcasts: Apple, Spotify, iHeart, TuneIn, and more. Also, make sure that if you are listening to the podcast version, you leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget, subscribe to POPlitics on YouTube.